Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. I know I am joined by very distinguished people from all parts of the globe at this particular moment. And I would like to thank you, Dr. Hari, the chairman of the Lead India Foundation, for organizing this event today and for also giving me the privilege of being amongst so many distinguished people all across the world. I know and I acknowledge and convey my greetings to all the distinguished speakers, Mr. Ziad Abdul Noor, the chairman of the Financial Policy Council, Prime Minister Dr. Louis George Stein, Shri Brian Patrick Leuning, Shri Vibhav Kant Upadhyay, Dr. Manuel Freire Garibal, Ms. Natalia Sokolova, Eduardo Huerta Mercado, Himanshu B. Patel, and all other distinguished people who have joined this webinar today from many parts of the world. Dr. Hari, it's a great privilege for me to be amongst all of you. I have known your activities for many years, and I know you left India 4 decades back, roughly 4 decades back, and in 2008, under the guidance and inspiration of our very dear visionary leader and scientist of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam ji, who was loved and adored by every Indian, whom we all miss even today. He is the one who inspired you to start this Lead India Foundation. And being his brainchild, I always feel grateful that you have been carrying forward his vision in a very dynamic manner and spreading it not only across US but all across the world. I know that the vision of this organization is focused on ensuring that there is affordable health care for all the people, there is affordable quality health care and quality education for everyone, and the whole world learns to stop insulting the planet and in a way learns to contribute to preserve and protect the planet. And you have also in your vision the aim of having spiritual families where there is better harmony amongst the family members, and of course motivating younger generation for value-based activities in their life. When I was trying to look at these 5 points, which are the broad visions of the Lead India Foundation, and when I was trying to learn from what you just now projected about the post-COVID world also and what's happening right now, although COVID has disturbed everybody's life today, we have already paid a huge amount of cost for this huge loss. You mentioned about the lives lost and the morbidities all over the world that it has produced, and the disturbance in all sectors including economy that it has caused, and the debacle that it has produced for the economy. But even after that, I was just trying to analyze that somehow it has brought about a change for the whole world, which you very rightly and very nicely and in very great detail elaborated, that in the long run it is going to improve definitely the quality of health care. It is going to bring about a great amount of more focused and better attention on healthcare delivery systems of the whole world by the politicians and the administrators. And of course, the delivery of education will become more modern and more scientific and more cost effective and useful for the people. And we have, I think, learned from COVID that probably we need to respect nature in a much more dignified manner, with much more sincerity and commitment, much more honesty and piousness. And that's what the people have started learning. Lockdown all over the world in different forms have somehow forced people to live at home, to spend more time with their families, to take better care of their elders and their children. And of course, many people have learnt to dedicate more of their time towards yoga and meditation. And all this also for the post-COVID world has laid a strong foundation for what you have been putting as one of your vision, to have spiritual families. The fifth part of your vision about motivating the youth for value-based activities, I think that you are already pursuing. And I am sure that in spite of the fact that we have paid a huge amount of cost for handling COVID or mitigating the menace of COVID, we should see a better world in the future times. And all of us, all across the world, have to look at it from that perspective only. I know that I had been regularly saying that we may have to wait for the vaccine, we may have to wait for the appropriate drugs, but the big social vaccine is always with us, because protecting yourself from COVID was not a big rocket science that we all had to practice. It was just about few things: wearing a mask, maintaining a reasonable physical or social distance, and just having this habit of regularly washing your hands with soap and water, and keeping your hands away from your infected surfaces and not to take them to your mouth, nose or the eyes. And I think this was all about handling COVID. And as a doctor and as a person who has held so many responsibilities in the field of health, right from my days in the medical college to being minister in the capital of India and at the national level, and also having worked with the World Health Organization for a number of years as an advisor to them, I feel these small things that COVID has brought about as changes in our life, I think they are going to give rich dividends to the control program of many diseases. It is certainly going to help us in the elimination of many of those diseases. And these are some of the good habits that we will all actually should strive to develop for all eternal times. As far as India is concerned, although we all feel sorry about the loss of lives not only in India but all across the world, but I can through you tell the whole world that India, being a big country with a population of 1.38 billion people right now, the whole world had apprehended a lot of troubles for India during COVID times. People in many countries and in many prestigious institutions, including US also, experts also, had predicted that by this time, when I am talking to you in the month of July, it was predicted that there may be something like 300 million cases in India, and there may be something like 5 million mortalities in India. This was all on record. But I can now tell you with great pride that under the leadership of our dynamic Prime Minister, a visionary leader, Shri Narendra Modi ji, we were probably the country where we responded first in the whole world. The whole world knows that China had informed the WHO about the cases of COVID on 7th of January. And here in my office in the Health Ministry, within less than 24 hours of that, we had organized our first meeting of the technical experts. Within a week, we had framed detailed advisories for the whole country. You know, it's a huge country with 35, 36 states and union territories, almost like small nations within our big country, and different types of systems, different types of people, different cultures. But within 7 to 10 days, the whole country had started preparing with detailed advisories. We had started point of entry surveillance at our airports, seaports, at our land borders, and must have screened millions of passengers and people at these places. We started our community surveillance very early, and at any point of time there were a few lakh people under very active surveillance in the country. We got our first case in the country on 30th of January. But much before that, we had established everything so that we had the detailed contact tracings and whatever needed to be done to strengthen our surveillance. The very next day, the Prime Minister had constituted a group of experts under my leadership with other ministers. We must have held something like 19 meetings till now, and throughout, in the initial stages, there were big challenges. COVID being a new virus, there was challenge to train people. There was challenge for the capacity building. There was challenge to ensure that we have the highest standards and quality of surveillance in the community. We must have done a capacity building of over 4 million people within the first few weeks. And the whole world knows that we did a countrywide lockdown under the leadership of our Prime Minister, followed it with a lockdown 2, followed it with lockdown 3, followed it with lockdown 4. And then, because the economy was being disturbed, jobs were being lost, unemployment was rising, it was a very, very tall order for a country as big as ours to take care of the millions of migrant workers, to take care of their fooding, lodging. They were stranded all over the country. There were people who were stranded in other countries. We took all these challenges and started working on ensuring that we take care of these migrant workers. We shift them to the right places. A decision to unlock, because we wanted to strike a balance between ensuring that we take care of the health issues also, we take care of the COVID issues also, and we take care of the setback to economy. It was a big decision. That also our country took. Right now we are in the lockdown unlock phase 2. We faced a lot of challenges during this period, but the country faced all of them very boldly. For the world, it may not be a believable thing, but when we started our journey in our fight against COVID, we had only one lab in the country, NIV Pune, where we could actually test for the presence of the virus. But now, when I am talking to you today, from that journey of one lab to almost 1,250 labs all across the country that we have created, it has been a huge task done with the support of the whole lot of health professionals, our medical colleges, our prime institutions, our corona warriors. And today we are testing almost 3.3 lakh people every day and have an ambitious target of testing 1 million people in the next 10 to 12 weeks or so. We ramped up our infrastructure, and today it's almost 14 lakh dedicated beds created all over the country in our COVID hospitals, COVID health facilities, and also the COVID care centers. Apart from this, over 11,000 quarantine centers with almost the same 11 lakhs or so the number of beds. It's a total 25 lakh beds created all over the country with all sorts of support systems. Fortunately, we are having only, because of the fact that right from the day one we planned our strategy in such a way that we diagnose as early as possible to keep the mortality at the lowest possible level. And today I feel happy in letting all of you know that today our recovery rate is also probably the highest in the whole world. It ranges between 63 and 64%, and our fatality rate is also probably the lowest in the whole world, which is about 2.55, and still we are intending to bring it down to less than 1%. This all has been possible because of the joint effort of all our health professionals, all the departments of the government, where it was a total government approach and it was a continuous blessings and the vision and the monitoring of our dear Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, that today, in spite of being the second most populous country in the whole world, with a population of 1.38 billion, we have these datas that I am talking to you. We do not boast about them, but I strongly feel that India, with the support of its people, with the support of its experts, doctors, paramedics, scientists, and all the administrators, has done commendably well. And it is not only the health sector, but also our scientists are doing so well. You mentioned about the vaccines. Right now in India, there are roughly vaccine discovery activities happening at almost 24 places. And 2 of our vaccine candidates have already entered into the clinical human trial stages. We hope and pray and wish that in the next couple of months we should get success on this front. Scientists are already working on discovery of new drugs, repurposing of new drugs. We have been able to produce most of these things which we were earlier importing, whether it was the PPEs or the N95 masks or the ventilators or the drugs. We have now come in a position where we can export many of them. The drugs, we were already, whether it was the vaccine manufacturing capability or the capability for manufacturing drugs, we were already world leaders. We have been able to take care of the shock due to COVID and have worked in a very resolute manner. As far as the World Health Organization is concerned, the responsibility that has been assigned to me is a very recent one. But the whole world is working together for the solidarity trials, whether for the drugs or the vaccines. And finally, I would say that as I have just narrated the story of how 1.5 billion Indians bravely fought the war against pandemic, I must simultaneously narrate a braver story of a resilient India currently fighting to revive country's economy. You will all be happy to know that a developing nation like India is seeing a quick economic upturn. Like for the rest of the world, the pandemic caused a shock for the Indian economy as well. The four legs on which the Indian economy had been growing have all been impacted adversely. Number one, consumption, because of the demand shock caused by lockdown and social distancing. Number two, manufacturing, hit by large scale supply chain disruptions. Number three, exports, which are on a pause mode as global consumers also pause. And lastly, the capital flows hit as the pandemic causes risk aversion and emerging markets have felt the impact of capital outflows or slowdowns in capital inflows. With all this happening and much more, which you are all very conversant with, projections by international agencies were that we would be at 1/5 the projected growth figures. It was then that our government, led by our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, started working on the plan to reboot and restart the economy in as smooth a manner as possible and as quickly as possible without diluting the healthcare and pandemic surveillance and management. Today our most important focus is on developing incentives for foreign investors. Through various policy changes, the government has managed to raise investor sentiment as well as attract the attention of foreign firms. For instance, India recently announced it is developing a land pool nearby which is double the size of Luxembourg. Acquiring land for manufacturing has been a major hold-up for foreign firms since multiple stakeholders are involved. Along with the promised land pool, certain states in India such as Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Haryana and Rajasthan have introduced labor reforms, providing incentives to new companies that set up their operations in their respective states. Further, our government is working on ease of doing business reforms, especially to make registration of property easier, speedy disposal of commercial disputes, and a simpler tax regime. Faced with this kind of unprecedented economic crisis post-COVID, our government had three clear objectives. Number one, providing enough money for emergent healthcare requirements, protection so that domestic companies don't go insolvent, jobs are not lost, and also the poor and the vulnerable who are most impacted by lockdown and economic shocks get financial, food and livelihood support. As the lockdown progressed and now eases, the government's thrust has been to ensure that we provide financial packages to jumpstart the economy. The rupees 20 lakh crore package was designed to restart the economy and business, protect jobs, and at the same time extend the support to those vulnerable and poor and the informal sectors. With already announced packages and the liquidity that is available in the financial sector, nobody will dispute today that the financial sector is in the strongest position it has ever been to help the economy restart, especially MSMEs and agriculture. We are working on ensuring that the over rupees 7 lakh crore of liquidity in the banking system should find its way to the borrowers and those corporates that need credit. We got a spate of good news in the last 1 month as various foreign investors revealed their intent to set up base in India. The technology giant Google announced plans to invest $10 billion over the next 5 to 7 years in India by way of equity investments, partnerships, and other arrangements to accelerate digitization in the country. There are many other MNC giants that are now looking towards India. Huge challenges lie before us as we move on the path of rebooting the economy while dealing with the post-COVID trauma. It is a time when the world has to collaborate. That is the only way we can together reboot the world economy. India has a unique tradition and culture which has always treated the world as a global village from times immemorial. We look forward to the world working on the same principle of collate and collaborate. Moving ahead, so while our government is doing its best to improve demand, restart businesses, this uncertainty is the new normal. The virus and the healthcare risks are part of the new normal that we are living and operating in. Risks to both individual well-being and business are not going away anytime soon. As long as there is no vaccine or a cure, we don't know what tomorrow holds for all of us. Does anybody have any doubt that we are living in an era of uncertainty? We need to be prudent in everything. Keeping the people together, collaborating with the world, and reducing the stress on nature. These are the most responsible things to do as a nation and for all of us together. The whole world must navigate these perilous and unprecedented times together. Many thanks for giving me this unique opportunity to address you all. Thanks once again, Dr. Hari Ipanapalli ji. Thank you all. Thank you everyone.